is coursing through the veins of these players who are now looking to reset Ilios, or who have
Okay.
actually successfully reset it. And now we're on a totally different submap.
We are. It is going to be a little bit of a difference here, so I like it. But main thing to watch for is, again, this time a little bit more of the side action view. And I like the fact that we do have the hacker going invis immediately. Try and speed into the back line. This could be a huge piece of the winning factor if they can get it down.
Yeah, ooh, and that's going to be a really nice way to get things down here to a really solid start. Opening up another pick. It's this Echo player on the Sombra is really good at representing the lethality that she's capable of on these off angles. I think absolutely for our Northview heroes, keeping their eyes and ears peeled for that Sombra is going to be really helpful.
The problem is coming about that you can't really have your head always on a swivel.
Mm-hmm.
It comes down to that 1v1 DPS check. And I mean, you're looking at Dallas and you're saying, hey, that's exactly what we want to play for. Whenever you chase after Echo, we got the Rally, we got Pugsy, we got Helix, we got String Cheese ready to go. And there it is immediately. That is going to be a Valkyrie in, and the Freya brings the pain.
Yeah, ooh, finding that mirror matchup is a huge deal as well. Now, Whale able to make a little bit of a trade there onto Echo, no less. Might give the team some pushing power through this choke, but things are still quite haphazard here as we have abilities forced out, but to no avail. You are going to be looking at a reset for Northview.
And one of the big things about that is, again, it doesn't matter if you get a pick or two, which Northview were able to pull off. It's about trying to get those in a concise manner. So if you're looking at Dallas, you're very happy about the current stance. You can even afford to play very far away. Like this one, using the Freya as a long-range sniper, just keeping them low anytime they try and chase onto the point. And it feels so good. Dallas center Grimes looking like the center of attention.
Oh, absolutely. A center of attention and center stage, not center of the bola there as we find ourselves missing the ultimate, but it doesn't matter. You create the space, you force the rest of Northview back, and you buy even more time to continue ramping up this objective progress. Remember, Orbital, we're living and dying and winning and losing by the point. So right now, all the advantages are stacked up for Northview.
I mean, the problem is they got to push as hard as possible. They're dropping the orbital ray on top, and this might be enough. A Rally coming in with an ult of their own, trying to keep everyone alive. I don't think it's going to happen, though, as G-Fighter and Joy are going to bite right back. Everyone was hacked out, but it's a little too late. The hack is so good. Have no follow-up. It's a problem, so it is well done by Northview. One of the more concise wins after dropping 3 ultimates.
Yeah. Hey, no expenses spared. I actually really liked the kind of the energy behind that EMP, but it definitely ends up being a resource that for our Dallas Center Grimes players that we're thinking, man, we'll have to just build that up here for the next fight. We have the time to do so. 18% and counting. You've got more than a minute to let the objective ramp up that progress. And more fights to fight here. You've got more ultimates to rely on. You don't just need the hack. So seeing Pugsy pull out the whole hog here might not be a bad call.
No, I don't think it is either, but there's a little jump as Echo goes on an absolute dipping speed. Annihilates 2, but Whale is able to fight back. But once again, the punch is in 2 different positions. Of course, that's a 3 for 2, which leads it to Dallas Center Grimes taking a victory over that point. And to push it to OT and a comfortable round.
Absolutely. Ooh, yeah, really nice and comfortable. And not very one-sided either. Absolutely. You have Northview with a little bit of a struggle to push through some of those key choke points. And as well, a little bit more time to kind of learn what the ebb and flow of these pre-fights really look like with this Sombra lurking around these angles. But ultimately, I feel like both teams are, while they're adjusting really well around each other, Northview has a really strong, I'm sorry, not Northview, Dallas Center Grimes has a really strong presence around not necessarily the best spots of the map, just really good spots on the map that work for them. They're playing really well.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. One of the big things that I'm watching for is Helix. Whenever Echo kind of runs off and does some things, Helix is ready with the pick-me-up. So I really like that call down. So keep eyes on where they're going. This time not running with that Sombra, instead making sure to get that Tracer, making sure to get that annoyance factor down. But G Fighter running with that Diva. I don't know if this is going to be helpful or not, but Pugsy walking straight into the battle.
Oh, I love lumbering forth as the Roadhog, looking for environmental eliminations with that hook. Pugsy won't quite get the payoff that they want on the investment of the Hog character here on his submap, and ultimately he's actually going to end up succumbing to the bloodlust of the Ilios well. A little unfortunate to lose your main tank there if you are Northview, but you don't have to stop with the aggression here. I actually really like the uptime that they're still contributing towards. You have G Fighter looking to stay active, push these supports, these squishy characters off of the point, and you're actually going to get Northview taking the early percentage.
Yeah, that was Whale actually. I think getting a little bit of a driver knock, popping up, bumping the likes of Pugsy off, and that was a rough one. So really, really well done by Northview to break open that space, and now we get a swap to the Zarya. We're seeing some exchanges come out here. Dallas Center Grimes, they're ready to go, though, for the Tango #1, their first attempt at a point overtake.
Yeah, they'll have to cut through a lot of resources in order to take this point, but pick onto Helix is a great advantage to set here for Northview. EchoDiff has to play safely around these backlines, not just because they're in the middle of enemy territory, but because they're losing members. With Pugsy falling, you have to wonder, is the call to leave the objective fight here?
Only imagine, right? Like that's gonna be the big piece of the puzzle. But we'll snap yet again. Good win by the side of Northview, as I don't think it's going to end any time soon. I'm trying to take a look as well, and I'm pretty sure Dallas Center Grimes is at 1-0, so we'll make sure to kind of confirm that. But Northview right now want to push us to a round #3, and they got some of the ults to do so.
Yeah, they have really good ultimates to hold on to this objective. Between the Diva Bomb being able to clear space and then the Brig Rally being able to deny hit. Outside of that, you have really nice capitalizations to go for, but that's a capitalization and a half right there. Getting out the Brig, who has that rally. What a starter. Marvelous opener from EchoDiff there, and Helix is here to contribute in the cage as well. Now it's just a matter of getting these last pick-off eliminations and then setting up for a nice long hold of the objective, 84%, and this is a nice timing to flip.
Not just that, you flip with a majority share of your ultimates coming up, right? You have the Freya plus rally behind. You have 2 kind of buckled down, and then you have 2 more coming up afterwards with String Cheese, as well as either Pugsy or Echo. And then you have 1 more, if you wish, with that Pulse Bomb. So there's a lot to be working with. Meanwhile, Northview actually have 4, so they want to go for it all in. Just to grab the last 13, they can, as G Fighter is able to find Helix.
Yeah, what a huge pick, and now it's a let her rip on all of our ultimates. So we're going to see the Coalescence, but Rally is going to get really pressured in that corner by G Fighter, who still has that self-destruct. The Rally enables the aggression onto Pugsy, who has already been under so much pressure this round, and now forced into a corner, can't even help their team contribute to the hold of this objective. Ultimately, letting this point flip is absolutely okay. EchoDiff with the Pulse Bomb might be able to help hold on to this point a little bit longer, but the most we're going to get is a pick and a little bit of time.
Honestly, it's going to come down to the wire. We know that already. OT is on the line. That's the touch point. That's the thing. They have to get on there
nice
before
touch.
It crests on the 90, and there it is. Nice little touch to begin, but Echo gets annihilated. Goes up to the rest of Dallas Center Grimes to try and turn.
The Kitsune Rush is going to help keep things in the advantage of Dallas Center Grimes. They're losing people, but Pugsy is using that to trade in the process. Not pulling the trigger yet on the annihilation to annihilate Northview here. It might be a bold creative choice, and you're right. There it finally is. It has to come out at this point, 43-99, and you're still losing members until ultimately it's just our lone tank hero playing the lonely tank role. And Northview is going to equalize the series. Oh, Orbital, what a treat, what a treat.
Are going to a round #3 in Northview. It all started with a Whale, with the bump, with the Venture. That's what you called for. You went ahead, threw down the bump with that knock-up, and you forced Pugsy out. And after that, Dallas Center Grimes never really recovered. Northview were in control for a majority share of the time. It was a simple touch by Dallas Center Grimes. That turned for, what, 25%? You're not even worried about that. So for Dallas Center Grimes, I'm looking at you trying to check out Whale. If you can find Whale, it feels like you can take apart Northview pretty easily. On the flip, though, and if Pugsy is able to run roughshod, or if we're going to see G Fighter do well with this Diva, things can shift very differently.
It's I'm gonna have to look a little bit closer to understand not necessarily the tank matchup, right? Not G Fighter and Pugsy going at it, but how them going at each other's teams is really helping these teams operate around each other. Because you might have actually elucidated a really interesting relationship there. At least the relationship right now is pretty simple. Both tanks ignore each other completely and look to move on the high grounds. But I love that hook there from Pugsy. Get back down here and pay attention to me, is what it's saying there. And they're also going to be able to use that presence on the low ground here to rotate onto the objective. You will end up getting a fight here, but there's some pretty steep advantages that have been acquired by Dallas Center Grimes.
Pretty much, and one of the things is that this, what was originally the first round map, is now becoming that third round map, and that stage is being set as they're able to turn it 4-1. But Northview are going to try and fight back. You can see with the rally on the back end, you can do some work. G Fighter and Joy able to open up. Freya with a 2P.
Yeah, oh, marvelous activity from the entire team. It's not just about everyone kind of doing their own things at the right times. It's about everyone doing the right thing at the right time. So absolutely love to see the Northview squad kind of really aligned around that win condition, around how they needed to fight that. Really good stuff. I'm excited to see ultimates really start flying both directions. I think we just have to wait a little bit longer for that.
That's going to be a little bit of a twist of fate right now as we're waiting for the big ults to come online here. Pugsley ready to go, just needs to ramp up a little bit more. And then 91 here for Echo. If Echo is able to get off a great EMP, do a lot of work, but of course that's a little bit of a driver yet again. Whale, what an annihilation.
Yeah, ooh, I love that Venture character, man. They're so good at lurking on these angles and just popping up out of the ground at the right times in order to continue holding on to this objective, or rather, I'm sorry, flip it. We do see Northview expending some ultimates. It's some consistent standard stuff though. You're absolutely going to flip the point playing so very nicely conventionally like that. I really love that. They only use that one rally, and so things are actually so doable here for Northview to make sure that one first round isn't what marks the entire series.
For me, I really am going to be watching for that Bola. Helix has it ready to go, plus a whole hog situation for Pugsy, and then you got the EMP behind. These are great doables if you want to shut them down, but it has to be played. So Berkeley G Fighter doesn't even allow it.
No, you have the Tectonic Shock and the Orbital Ray here. Pugsy tried to clear some space with the whole hog, and you do have some map control being attained with a little bit of hacking, some EMPing. It's ultimately not going to be enough, and you do have to look at it. It's just a hard reset here for Dallas Center Grimes, and it isn't actually too surprising to see some swaps to their composition.
Well, yeah, now they're going for speed. Now they're going for just raw damage, and I don't know if it's going to be enough. You only got about 14 more seconds to be able to get down onto the map, get out onto the field, touch the point, and then turn it. So it's going to be a huge gamble if Dallas Center Grimes are able to win.
Oh my goodness. Oh, and you're not going to be able to do it with Echo, at least. They're gone out of the cage, dispatched first, and ultimately you're going to be really reliant on these other ultimates that Dallas Center Grimes has. The rally is going to buy you quite a bit of time, but is it really going to be what helps you in this Venture matchup? Oh my goodness, it absolutely is, because the Orbital Ray helps to amplify Rally's damage there and gets a really nice, clean win. It's costly, but it is clean.
I think the big thing that we're watching for is the Diva Bomb, right? That explosion could be the big game maker. So G Fighter is going to be chasing. G Fighter wins it out number one. Are they going to look for a little bit more? Yes, they are. They walk right on the point, start forcing everyone out, twist to the air, turn onto Stream Cheese, who is annihilated and eaten up. And now it's a chase down of 1, 2, and 3. That will go ahead and be the GG at the end. OT is being filed, but honestly, I don't think anyone can be around that point. They do touch very last moment, but again, well done to North.
Yeah, who is that? Is that Echo with the touched? I mean, absolutely incredible stuff. Those last fight overtime touches are actually insanely hard to get, and then on top of that, coordinate with your team. So wow, Dallas Center Grimes, you guys are on top of it. Nice. I got first. I got second. I can retouch calls. Oh my goodness, it was so obvious. I could hear those calls echoing within the confines of my mind. Not just because there's no brain matter in there between, but rather just because those calls were very, very clear. I loved Dallas Center Grimes. I love the way that they're ready to contest and compete for that objective in those overtime fights. You do have a whale there on the venture being so disruptive to all of those timings, right? So the time that you have to touch, the time, whether that's in overtime or at the beginning of the map, or you've got a lot of disruption you have to fight through. And it's so funny. That's a testament to how well both teams are playing. That you do have. Who's the venture? Oh my goodness, is it
That was Whale.
Whale?
That was
That's right.
Whale on the side of
That's
Northview.
right. So
So
Whale's playing really well.
yeah, it was overall really good, and I love the fact that you gave a lot of credit over to Dallas Center Grimes, but at the end of the day, it was Northview that
Hmm.
came up with the victory, right? We saw that round 1, it was a little bit sloppy, and then they came back round 2, round 3, and it really was on the back as well as Will, but the diva worked wonders in there, so powerful without even the ultimate, was stepping up, losing their life multiple times, but it created so much space, and so that's why we saw Northview come out with the lead. I'm curious if we're gonna see it yet again because you move onto a hybrid map, it's a little bit different. Eyes are out on what you wish to run. And, at the end of the day, we could see Northview have it yet again. But from my eyes, Dallas Center Grimes, they can do a lot as well. One of the things we mentioned that Sombra was very, very frustrating to play against. Yes, it was kind of that one hit wonder. I think they can do it again if they really put their mind to it.
Oh, I think that's so right. And I also love the fact that you elevated the Diva matchup there. Because especially there in those last fights, that Diva just running into Pugsy on the Zarya. There's so many players that would look at something like that. We would call that a hard counter, right? Where you actually don't really want to tangle with the Zarya as Diva. It's a great presence of mind from oh my goodness, I'm losing my mind. Goose on the Diva, I believe. I'm sorry, no, G Fighter on the Diva. To understand in the
Yep.
context of my team, in the context of these fights, I can take the matchup that on pen and paper is kind of bad for me, and because I trust my team to take that
Yep.
matchup with me, I can. I'm actually so much better than the pen and paper could ever dictate. So you're absolutely right. Dallas Grimes is playing their team coordination, those touches really, really nicely. But ultimately, I think that it is a really good knowledge of this matchup that is really helping Northview stay ahead. That margin is kind of slight right now, though. I think that you're totally
Yep.
right. Opening up our options with like that Sombra pick, oh man, from Dallas Center, might actually be a really good call.
I think that, on top of that one, with the Sombra as a backline runner, you open up for the Freya. Freya obviously being played, I believe, on both sides.
Mhm.
This time around, really making their home and making sure that they can get a lot of that DPS down. When I look at Dallas, they made an exceptional pace when Sombra wasn't around. You go ahead and kind of run the show. Said, hey, just go ahead and do a 4v1. This is standard. This is okay. For them, though, they need that Sombra to kick off, and if you do, then you can open up space for the Freya afterwards, and then that's where a majority share of your damage comes from. Granted, for Dallas, you can do whatever you want to. I'm not the player, so they are, and they're going to be trying to do their best. We've gotten word, I believe, that we are also going to Kings Row, one of the old map standards that we also saw in our opening match. So we'll see if it works out once again.
I'm just waiting to see which team has the audacity to pick Midtown. That's gonna be a really it's gonna be a really bold choice when it happens.
I wonder if it was banned.
Yeah.
I wonder if it would be banned out, but I don't think they can ban in second rotation.
Oh,
So,
okay, gotcha.
on the second map, I think it's just open to
Mhm,
whatever, so
gotcha.
kinda makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah. That I'm a sucker. I just want to see Midtown played, and yeah, I've done casting for Overwatch for a couple of years now. All of these teams love Kings Row, so I always love to see teams that are looking to break the mold a little bit. And you're right, Orbital. It is the loser of the previous map gets to pick the next map because it's a small pool. It's not really an occupation with bans on that after that first round. It's very much in the court of Northview. If they're picking Kings Row, there's a good reason for it.
Yeah, I think it goes back to Old Faithful. Neither of these teams really plays that standard meta composition, right? Having that whole hog every single time with that Roadhog is not exactly within the meta standard either. And then the Zarya pullouts, whatever you wanna do. This is again, I think when it comes to Kings Row, it's kind of an understood factor. Like, this is the de facto that you go to when nobody really wins out either way. You're saying it's even, and it's the best place to give yourself a decent 50-50 chance at victory. So I can appreciate it. I 100% appreciate Pickup here coming in from the side of Dallas Center Grimes, and if it's gonna work for them. One of the big things that we gotta watch for right now, Echo as well as String Cheese.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. And you also on the side of Northview gotta absolutely keep your eyes, well, actually maybe your ears peeled for Awel on that venture. We got a teaser
Yep.
of Kings Row, the compositions that we'll see. Back to Orbital's handsome face, and I'm here too, guys. And we'll be jumping right back in the map after just a quick setting change to accommodate
Yeah,
players.
no. We're not gonna jump just right away. Lord Thiefin is also very, very handsome over there. We appreciate it. We appreciate being here on the LOS
Mhm.
national stage right now for Overwatch 2, and we love every moment. And for those that are tuning in saying, well, why do we only have Overwatch 2 running right now? Well, that's because next weekend is gonna be Rocket League across the 2-day weekend on that Friday, Saturday. But also the following week afterwards, about a week and a half afterwards, there is going to be a LAN at Maryville University for the LOS nationals for Valorant and Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. That is wild to hear.
Oh, it's such an exciting stage to be on as well. And to be a part of any of the I mean, holy smokes, I think there's over 600 colleges. There's something like 2000 high schools. And I think up to oh my goodness. I think up to like 20 or even more collegiate and well, actually not just collegiate, various high school collegiate conferences as well. They all use this
Yep.
platform, I use it too, like I mentioned earlier, with the school that I work with, and oh my goodness, it's absolutely fantastic. And so the opportunity that you get to to go up on those stages, play with your teams in person, in front of oh my goodness, it makes me nervous just thinking about. But in front of people, oh my goodness, in front of people who are actually there in person, watching, right? Especially considering that you had to
Yep.
touch grass in order to get there, right? From the bedroom to the land. Um, the opportunity
Yep.
that being a part of the national conference of the League OS platform and all of the schools that participate, it's a huge opportunity. Wow, you said it better and more concise than I did, Orbital. But I wanted to weigh in too.
I think that's the best part because everyone does want to be at a LAN center. Everyone does want to be on that big stage in person. That's what a lot of competitors strive for. Is just having that stage, having that platform to be able to play and show your stuff. So we are going to go ahead and hop on in. We are going to go ahead and get an idea of what we're going to see, and you can go ahead and take a look across. I believe, yeah. So Dallas is still on the defense to start things off, and then Northview on the attacking side. We'll be watching to see if they can take it home. Of course, here, if they win out on the attacking side and then they're able to hold Dallas Center Grimes, they will go ahead, come away with their second map or the second series victory here in the group stage.
Let's see if they can solidify this. Oh, it's this dangerous corner, like leap out and rush them kind of play style that I've got to see a little bit of in the last series from Atoka. It's a frenetic, chaotic fight here, breaking out in the first choke point of Kings Row. There's all kinds of cooldowns being expended here, but the important thing to note here is that a little bit of map control is being attained. It's a whale creeping into the hotel of Kings Row and drawing attention from Dallas Center Grimes. They have to pay attention to this venture, but they also need to keep an eye on that core, make sure that their tank is doing okay in this war of attrition. It's the Rom versus Orisa. These fights aren't going to end quickly.
Oh, it's going to be a little bit tough, and honestly, I'd be really keeping my eyes on the backside because Dallas Center Grimes are taking their time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really holding them down, and Northview are just not being able to break through. So I like this. Now they go all in, and now it's just destruction. Dallas Center Grimes punch and just decimate their way to a first team fight victory.
Oh my goodness. I was not even paying attention to how Dallas Center Grimes was looking to kind of ebb and flow around that. Because of how well they take those corners and those fights, G Fighter is actually going to be compelled to mirror the Ramatra. This is going to help with those tempo brawl timings, but ultimately it's going to be really tough to fight through the May wall. Look at that isolation.
Oh, I love that call. You go ahead and isolate and you get a little extra damage down, which forced the rest of Northview to step away. Very comfortably done, and now it's another rally up as well. Echo Diff brings the differential when it comes to this overhealing. The rest of Dallas Center Grimes shoved Northview all the way back to spawn.
And if another fight happens here relatively soon, you're still going to have a little bit of that overhealth on some of these characters. It's starting to chip away a little bit
Yep.
there. But ultimately, even if it's not the overhealth, you have, well, the ultimates to spare. Northview has a couple of tools of the trade in their own box, but it's Dallas Center Grimes that's controlling this choke.
And that really worries me. We're gonna have to see Northview actually break the way out as G Fighter is able to find one mark, but the problem is that huge snowstorm destroyed any hopes of Northview breaking through. And every time we see a fight, it's about a minute out the clock. Honestly, that was the fastest loss that Northview have had. That way they can get back out onto the field with ultimates on their
Oh,
own.
especially since you did get that pick off onto Rally, right? Who is walking back from spawn, who will be back relatively faster, but you don't have Rally to fight through the choke now. So you are able to push through, apply a little bit of early pressure onto Pugsy, and just make a mad dash for the objective. You sacrifice
Oh my
Joy in the
gosh.
back line, and you managed to get Rally again.
Ooh.
So there's some really big sacrifices that have some very big meanings to them and this first objective capture from Northview. Oh, that was so very nice. Caution to the wind and trepidation is not the ground we tread upon when we look to capture that first point on King's Row. If we have to lose Joy there, absolutely, we'll throw Joy to the Wolves because the Wolves aren't in their den. It's ours now. Oh, what a marvelous capture.
And again, it comes off the back of the tank player. Last time we were talking about Ninja Jet, who was the big player, and this time it's G Fighter. G Fighter has come up with exceptional 2-piece 3Ks all the way through, and it's done work. However, whenever the full team's here, it feels like Dallas Center Grimes are more than ready to fight it out, and if G Fighter isn't able to break through the front lines, they aren't going to find victory, period, for Northview.
No, they aren't. Dallas Center Grimes does have to continue holding, drawing time out of this bank, but it's hard to do so when you're losing units on these front lines, especially one that had that ultimate. Think about how influential that Blizzard was earlier, and now you don't have that as a tool to hold this choke. So when you get walked upon, there's not many options besides to fight. A noble fight is fought here by Pugsy, who is looking to build that ultimate, has the rally from Rally to sustain themselves as they make a push onto the objective. A little bit of ebb and flow here with the Deadeye also makes things flow the direction of Dallas Center Grimes, but they might not be able to hold on for long without picks. A pick off onto All Whale does help open up options, and now with the retreat from Northview, we get a little bit more space, a little more clarity to set up for this next fight, hopefully with Blizzard.
And I really think they're getting a good identification. Yeah, Whales actually forced out the Venture because I think Dallas Center Grimes are actually hunting for the Venture. Venture does have to be a little bit closer to the battle, so it makes sense. Now you bring out that Junkrat, and now you just lob a lot of those grenades too, and you pray that you can break on in. There's going to be a wall, though, as they find Joy yet again.
Nefarious. Absolutely. Oh, it's sinister, in fact. It looks like a horror movie in some instances when you're playing against this Echo Dift and you have to walk through a choke where you know there's a wall, you know there's a blizzard, you know that there's something that will slow you down or even worse, freeze you. So it's a tough push through this choke for Northview. Kind of like last series. I wonder if actually the option here is just forego main and find an off-angle to pick off.
Yeah, I mean, this is... Now is that Orbital ready to try and fight back, but Pugsy is ready for their own. What a swath, though! I don't know what Whale did, but Whale explodes onto the scene with the Orbital Ray plus a little bit of malignance. The G Fighter breaks on through. Well done with the team wipe. Northview go ahead and get a shattering win.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And an explosive one. Just detonating their way through the. It wasn't even a front line. Pugsy. In fact, maybe it was Pugsy just kind of callously walking past the fight right into the core of Northview, which is the call. But maybe it's that opening that gives Whale the opportunity to do so much damage. They're so close to that Riptire as well. Being able to let a release on that ultimate during this fight might be a huge advantage. But you're really relying on some of these other ultimates if you're Northview, or because you've seen expenditures from Dallas Center Grimes, you're just saying, let's hold off and back up. That call isn't quite clear to me. We see the rally emerge. It helps to buy PA Creeper a little bit of time to retreat to their team, but it is a resource they won't have for this next fight.
This is... I mean, Dallas Center Grimes are going to try their best here. I don't know if it can hold. They're going to try and break on in North. You're trying to get back on that convoy, but it's not going to work. That is going to be GG, but it's a good push overall. Northview not being able to reach that second, but close enough. Well done, Dallas Center Grimes. able to hold them to just 90.85 meters. I think it's only going to continue here. Dallas Center Grimes hoping to break on out here in map number 2 and look for a final game.
Oh my goodness, that was time. Orbital. I didn't even realize that that much time had been sunk out of the bank. Um,
Yep.
it's a really, really nice, firm grasp that Dallas Center Grimes has over that objective to deny as much time as they were able to there on that first objective to stop the cart, not just when, but where they stopped it on that streets phase, as we call it on Kings Row. Wow, it's some really really nice kind of finagling of the control that you can have over that point, and making that objective not only very difficult to maneuver on the map as the attackers want to, right? But also to make it really difficult to just exist on that objective, which you need to in order to move it. It sounds like I said the same thing twice, but you actually do need both parts. and,
Yep.
and so I'm actually so very impressed with Dallas Grimes right now. That's not to say that Northview hasn't been punching their way through some adversity really nicely in these moments where they are able to push. But for an attacking phase, I really expect things to continue flowing the direction of Dallas Center Grimes. They have a really nice read on the pace.
I mean, and right now they're being given a lot of room as well. Northview are really just kind of leaning back, and they're actually forcing him into a corridor. Now, it feels like Dallas Center Grimes are actually actively taking a long way around. They're trying to find that backline. It looks like they almost did. The Creeper was actually annihilated, dropped down to about 10% HP. And I like this rotation, so Northview might have a low ground situation that puts them at a disadvantage.
A little bit. Yeah, you're definitely going to have a lot of pressure here onto Pugsy. So with the attentiveness from Rally and String Cheese, they're going to be able to be sustained here on this objective. If you manage to force Northview off of this point, then you are looking really good, and that is what we're seeing with G-Fighter gone, a wall off in the choke with cooldowns still to spare to slow down the defenders. Northview is going to be pushed and cowed and forced off of this objective. It finds its capture, but even with the 5.5 minutes in the bank, you still have this absolutely nefarious streets phase of Kings Row that you can manipulate if you're Northview in a lot of different ways. Think about how powerful All Whale has been up until this point. Isn't this the arena that they actually start working really well in?
I would agree. I think swapping over to the Venture as well is going to be that big little testament, right? It's going to be the big moment to really watch for. And Dallas Center Grimes, they're doing well to watch out for it. Gooses as well. You're just trying to stay alive on that Juno, and is it going to work is a whole question. This payload hasn't really stopped either. But watch for Whale. Where are they going to go? Are they going to find that pincer?
Ooh, are they going to find it at the right time, actually, is arguably an even better question. As the Annihilate goes out, you do want to link up to your team. It looks like El Whale's actually right in their core, and it's really good place to be. You managed to get an opening onto the tank, and from there you can force all the rest of Dallas Center Grimes back.
That was great. You mentioned that we want to see the flank. We mentioned that we want to see kind of this diversion, this ability to dissect the likes of Dallas Center Grimes, and they do it. DCG were not in a good position to do so. However, Pugsy now with the ult, as well as Helix coming up with that overclock, both of these ultimates could be the Bricklayers. 2 Northview falling. Let's see if DCG are able to do it.
Let's see it. I wouldn't mind an Annihilation right off the rip here, but it looks like we'll go for a little bit of the tempo arms here. It's actually just a lot of poking. No reason to ult yet. And there's the Ray. There's the trigger. It's a call to action here for the team, and with that, the nanites start swarming around them. Suffer as I have is the call that you hear if you're in the game. And oh, what a terrifying call that is, but not if you are Dallas Center Grimes, who now has their absolute clearest possible path and as little adversity as they could possibly want.
Yeah, look at that. They're on fire right now, and that's just brutal. DCG, comfortable play. Northview just praying that they can hold for 3.5 minutes, but I don't know if it's going to work as Pugsy opens up on Whale, and that is going to be a last-ditch effort touch. But Helix is ready. Helix with a fantastic shot. Rest of the teams are butted out. Pugsy on the wrong side, but hey, there's a turnaround. Some kills coming through.
Until there aren't any left to get through. What a nice push from Dallas Center Grimes. I still really loved the way that Northview looked to hold on some of these key positions with some of these key characters. it's that momentum I feel really helping to push some of these advances from Dallas Center Grimes. And if you want momentum, that's a great character to try and manipulate that with. And oh, that's with this Ramatra G Fighter really making that character theirs this series.
Yep, it was glorious to watch. I don't really know any other way to put it, but it was spot on. And it's something that I think we saw back in round number 1 of map 1 as well. One of the things that we saw DCG do really, really well was be kind of overwhelming. And
Mhm.
whenever they had ults in their hands, they were able to kind of force a buckle from the opponent. Now, Northview themselves, they seemed a little bit slower off the kick, but they were able to get things rolling if they were allowed to play their pace, if they were allowed to kind of set up foot in front of each other, and they weren't surprised by anything because they were the ones that wanted to set up the flanks. They were the ones that wanted to set up those pincer maneuvers with Whale specifically. And you did see it as soon as they were able to bring Whale across on the backside, I believe on the second to last hold there on their defense, they were able to find a win. As long as Whale is in position, they're good. The problem is how long it takes to set that up. How long does it take to put Venture on that backside? Are you going to get crushed right away? And will DCG actually spot them out? That's the problem they started to run into. And as soon as DCG were like, hey, we know where Venture is, we know where Whale is, we're good. That's where everything kind of crumbles. So, really nicely done by DCG to identify that compositional kind of weakness on their side.
You talked about so many very interesting things, and we just don't have the time to get into all of them, Orbital. But oh, here from my corner of the room, a strong concurrence, my counselor, my color counselor, here as we really press our fingers onto the pulse of this match. It is we are able to discern how well these key players are operating around each other. For Northview on their win on Ilios, for Dallas Grimes on Kings Row. Oh goodness! And now I'm nervous. Now my heart races thinking about how we're entering the last series of the afternoon, and all I want to do if I'm a player on these teams is win today, get the momentum to go into the next matches of the evening, and really set myself up for the bracket of the playoffs tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be very interested to see who actually comes out on top because considering already that we have a bunch of teams already with like 2 zeros,
Mhm.
I'll be curious to see who actually steps up to that first and second place. Now, keep in mind we are kind of dividing everyone up into groups. I believe there's a group A and a group
Mhm.
B, but the actual identification of who is sitting at the very, very top will be an overall combination of both groups. Meaning, if you were going, I believe 3-0 in your group versus a 3 over the other side, it take the game score difference. So having a 2-0 versus a 2-1 is highly important here in these 3-0s if you want a really good seeding and if you want to have a comfortable way into that upper bracket. Now, we do have a total of, I believe, 7 teams playing here today, as we mentioned, but it does mean that 1 or 2 teams are actually going to have a bye moving into that upper semifinal side. So you want to make sure that you are first or second seed. You really, really want to have an easy time to make your way up because tomorrow's all BO5s as well. That's going to be the treat that we're watching for.
Oh my goodness. I love my best of fives. There's just enough room in there to apply some really important adaptations. Those are the series that you always see swing in some of the most glorious ways. I've loved your use of that word today. Oh my goodness. If there's any word to describe Overwatch, once you get past frenetic as the best word, glorious is that second one. And especially when there's the Reinhardts involved or those brawl styles. Yeah. Oh, on King's Row, no less. But it's going to be the flashpoint mode that we're heading next to. It's not the hybrid. It's not the start stop of the objective, living and dying by the point. You're still living and dying by that objective, but it's a fast one. It's a really valuable one. Flashpoint is the name of the game mode, and at least for this caster, it's one of the best ones for really leaning into the high mobility, frenetic, chaotic, glorious kind of fight styles that we see emerge in these Overwatch team fights, especially here at the high school level where they just know that the best way to
Yep.
play the game is run into each other and see who's standing when the dust settles.
Yep, 100%. I mean, this is also a chance to show off their stuff for the collegiate scene. You mentioned that they are high schools, and that's the big part. Here at Nationals, it is not only your chance to play and rep your school and your state, but it's also to put your best foot forward moving into future years. For some of these seniors and maybe juniors as well, they're looking for homes. There's a reason why we talked about the collegiate side of things. They're just gonna have some scouts. Some schools are gonna be saying, "Hey, there's a player here in this Nationals division that I want to keep eyes on." You know, if you're looking at maybe some tank players, hey, pick them up. If you're looking at DPS, hey, pick them up as well. Not only is this just a competition, but it's also a scouting grounds. And a full scouting grounds will be coming up later as well with LOS. So that's going to be really cool to hear about. But either way, as you mentioned, Flashpoint coming into this, a little bit more brawl heavy, a little bit more chaotic to say the least. And I'm actually a little bit scared because if this goes anyway, like Control did, I have no idea who's going to come out with a victory. You know, we talked about Echo, we talked about Rally, we talked about Pugsy. All these players on DCG's side did well, but Northview, specifically Whale, we need to see if they're going to try and utilize that venture or if they're going to go a different direction.
I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of both. These maps for Flashpoint are just long enough to see some of the most glorious fights and just short enough to not have a lot of time to see a lot of different styles. So usually those kinds of decisions, well, they have to come, well, in a flash. And at least after the chaos of this first fight has unfolded completely. It's that first Flashpoint. Man, and this is such a dangerous objective. So I like the early wall to make the traversal to it a little bit safer. Going up against G-Fighter on the Orisa is a scary endeavor, though, and Helix and String Cheese, as well as eventually the rest of Dallas Center Grimes, are really going to experience the terror of going up against the horse on a map like this.
Yep, not only that, remember G-Fighter has been one of the pivotal frontliners for the team in more ways than one, not only having that tank value, but also with that punching power, multiple frags out and eliminations, and has yielded results in more ways than one. Will and G-Fighter are quite literally the two-man duo, the two-player duo that has enabled already a 20 or 30% take for Northview on point.
Yeah, some really nice stuff, and they just have to keep up these this pressure. The objectives on Flashpoint differ from point to point, so we're going to see one team perform really, really well on this map, and then it bounces back to the other side, especially if the previous maps are anything to go by. We'll see how this current fight goes, however, as you need a lot of healing and a lot of speed to push past this choke, but the early instances of this fight have already passed. That healing and that speed will diminish, and now you see big resources emerging from Northview. And ultimate, the speed ring, the push from the choke point, while the objective is still currently controlled by the red squad. Northview really making this point their home and making their home a stalwart defense for Dallas Center Grimes, who has to push through here. They have to make sacrifices. The wall goes up. If they build ultimates, they're gonna have to get used immediately, like the mirrored rallies on either side, which is going to enable Helix to find that opening pick. But because there's a rally in play, you have to see the Blizzard as well. Force Northview off of this objective and find some clearance for picks. At long last, the fight begins resolving, but only after massive receipts.
I mean, you talked your way through that one,
Oh.
Ethan. Huge job, by the way.
Thank you.
Very, very nicely done. But you touched on every single point. ECG were able to battle back, but it was such a narrow victory that Northview had actually built up a very nice ult economy. You look at the fact that Pack Reaper has been okay so far, but Joy, Will, and Gooses all have theirs, which you basically sledgehammer your way on, and they're going to use
Oh, you love seeing the abilities used with Whale and G-Fighter able to get some picks. Gonna be able to clear up this choke point and advance onto the objective. You still have a full rest of the fight to go through, and because of that, some trades as well. Maybe one last ultimate if we have the time to generate and use, but it doesn't seem as if the universe will afford us that chance. In actually a harrowing back and forth, it's Northview taking that first Flashpoint lead.
Yeah, and that comes down to just their ability to hold the point early. It gave them so much time to build up Joy, Whale, and Goose's ultimate counters, right? And you knew for a fact DCG were going to be on point. You knew they couldn't go anywhere else. It's OT if they don't, so they were bottlenecked already. Northview took advantage of that, burned everything to take, and now they have G-Fighter and Pack Creeper to go ahead and get ready with their ultimate. So ECG might be first on point, but it doesn't matter as Northview are going to fight right back. Echo, though, with a great answer.
Oh my goodness, yeah, and a great use of the orbital ray as well. That's such a really clean fight, and it's off the back of one ultimate. You're able to use that to generate the rest that you need for that blizzard. You don't have to spend that yourself. You get this early objective progress, and as well, you're going to be able to advance to the point where you can really gatekeep this this Northview squad from even being able to get close to the objective without using their key cooldowns. The main one of which is the Terror Surge from G-Fighter here. It's going to be a big opener, but I don't necessarily know that's the closer for this fight.
I mean, G-Fighter doesn't care. G-Fighter does not care. Of course, Pugsy does the exact same back, so it is going to be a swap. The difference is, remember, Dallas Center Grimes are the ones that currently reside on point, so it needs to get a cleaner victory, and it looks like Northview are going to do it. They annihilate, you're able to turn back on the point, make sure to get at least 1 or 2 bodies on there, and they're going to take out Pugsy as well. So a turn none too soon. A 60% for Dallas Center.
Oh, that's such a nicely timed turn as well. 60% is actually so operable if you're thinking about how quickly this flashpoint mode actually plays out. Oh my goodness, these players actually have to do so much work in such an incredibly small amount of time. Oh my, all of our parents, staff, coaches, teachers, holy smokes, you guys should be so incredibly proud of how hard these students work. And it's going to be really hard work coming to this fight with the ultimates that Northview have to control this objective. Dallas Center Grimes, their work cut out for them. Can they make it work?
I think they're going to try. However, they entered into this a little bit differently as Northview bring the rally and a half. Will bringing the pain behind, but Joy and Will and Pet Creeper doing the exact same. A comfortable skill. I know you talked about the 60%, Theta, but Northview more than happy to show that they go from 0 to 100.
Yeah, they do. Oh my goodness. All of the teams that I think are going to win today really like to do that. Not as in terms of the control percentage, but also the pace that they play the game at. Ultimately, things are just a little bit too slow on the side of Dallas Center Grimes. Big time stopped, disrupted by that Terra Surge. And ultimately, you're going to see quite the lead established here for Northview. But Dallas Center Grimes is not out for the count. Remember, these objectives are so different from each other. And so really, especially off the back of some compositional adjustments from Dallas Center Grimes, they may be able to find a little bit more opportunities to capitalize on some of the strengths of their composition. They really want to seem, or it seems, compete in this war of attrition. And I think that mirroring the horse isn't a bad way to do that.
I think at the end of the day, it's a great stall tactic, and honestly, with the first engagement going Helix and Pugsy's way, they break straight into the face of Northview. As Northview, I don't think we're expecting that level of a launch. So we're trying to follow Whale in after the ult, and the ult did not do them any favors. So well done to Dallas Center Grimes to get the first touch on Flashpoint.
Oh, absolutely brilliant, and kind of relieving for me. I really do want to see Dallas Center Grimes be able to compete on this map, even if they don't take the win, even if it's Northview's map and their match. Man, it's just good to see these teams really knock heads with each other. You're gonna have the Deadeye looking to click heads there. No connections yet, and Echo Diff does unfortunately get picked there. It's unfortunate for Dallas Center Grimes, but they have plenty of tools to use the support ultimates to buy themselves a little bit more time. The rally's going to get burned through, and that's going to be at least forcing some of the most important cooldowns from Northview. Ultimately, it's a little bit more of a mild fight there in that choke point, and leads to a quiet capture of the objective from Northview.
And honestly, I think that was just really, really well done. Dallas Center Grimes actually had the right idea. As soon as they saw G-Fighter burn ult as well as Goose's with the orbital ray, they actually turned it on 3. The problem is Northview actually had Joy and I think for Creeper a little bit outside, so they weren't taken down right away. Whale was even had time to come back, so they were able to kind of, as you called, the war of attrition went their way. So ECG now realizing that they're not going to enjoy this one.
No, well, they enjoyed a little bit more. That's a nice opening pick off of the Juno clickies, getting a little bit of the healing, a little bit of the damage, and a lot of action on all sides of the arena as the Blizzard hones in the fight, concentrates it onto that center, and String Cheese is walking away with more of those Pulsar Torpedo eliminations. You're really happy if you are Dallas Center Grimes or one of the fans that they have, if you see them capture this. If 55% actually gives you so much to work with as far as time.
I mean, that was a huge twist. I was not expecting that one, but Echo with a massive blizzard. That's the only thing. Northview weren't really respectful of that ult, and they left G Fighter in the middle, which is a problem. Now it's going to be twisted on back and around, though. As Northview say, you don't have that ult to play for. Now it's just straight up gun duel, and if you're not ready for it, you are going to lose. So DCG need to hang on if they want to push us to a point.
Oh, you're so right. They have to be prepared for the neutral fight. And are they ready for it? Well, they're pulled into the center, and String Cheese is going to be eliminated. With the lifeline severed, Helix may have to pull the trigger sooner than they wanted, and ultimately it's still a little bit later than they needed. Pugsy will end up being focused out, and now as the overtime wick burns, it's not the objective that is going to be completed until just a few moments from now. It's going to be the stall that you see mustered on the side of Dallas Center Grimes as they look to stay competitive in this match with a touch, but aren't going to get it. You have Northview walking away with the dub of a 2-1 series. Oh, that makes my night. I love it when best of 3 series go all of the maps.
I mean, it was glorious to say, but Northview, what a stomping victory back. And this Terra Surge coming out a G Fighter was the final piece of the puzzle. You slam the Terra Surge, you twist to throw a spear in face of the Cassidy, and it's the end. And we mentioned that Whale was such a key playmaker, but I kind of shifted away from G Fighter. I knew G Fighter was doing tank things. You know, tanks tend to run pretty roughshod, but that ending was all G Fighter. I have to give credit where credit is due. Northview rode on the backs of Whale on everyone, and then at the final head of the ship was G Fighter all day long.
I love looking at and talking about tank gameplay in Overwatch because it's so tantamount to winning and losing, to concentrating the fights where you need it to be, like we do when we pull big ultimates like the May Blizzard or the Orisa Terra Surge, literally concentrating the fight on top of you. Okay. But you also invoke so much risk doing so. You run into a lot of pressure, and it's a lonely role. There's only one of you remaining in Overwatch. When Overwatch 3 rolls out, we aren't even going to have tanks, right? We went from 2 to 1, and it's become a really challenging role to navigate by oneself. It's important to have your team around you for those key moments, and that's why I really like talking about tanks, is because you need your tank player to be, you know, of sound mind, of strong presence. But man, you also need your tank player to have a team. And that is absolutely the case with Northview.
Yeah, I mean, they played so well, and a big shout out to both squads as they go ahead and make their way onwards. Hopefully, we get to see a little bit more on either side, but we got one more match. We got one more to go here, and I'm kind of excited.
Oh, I'm so excited. So you guys will have to stick around. We're going to be heading off for a short break. Before we do so, I want to remind us that this this 2025 Scholastic Nationals is powered by League OS. It's a very special thank you that we have to them. If you guys are in a collegiate program, running a collegiate program, or are really enjoying the matches here and want to make sure that you are setting your students up for competitive success, then head over to portal.leagueos.gg to set up your college portal profile today. You guys can get set up in time for the fall 2025 season. Guys, thank you so much for watching so far. We're not quite finished yet. Stick around on the other side of a break. We'll be bringing you the last series of the evening. Thank you guys. We'll be right back.